So
So
you found
last,
something regarding a conversation we had yet last week about gravity forms.
yeah, so last week, I think the discussion was, um, we've got, I'm going to just use round numbers. We had like 50 submissions, 50 button clicks to a gravity form on a site. But then when we look at the thank you page, we had like 40 something. Okay, so why is there like a 10 or 20% failure rate potentially in somebody clicking a button and submitting a form? Well, we all know on a gravity form or whatever form, contact form 7 or whatever it is you can have some fields that are required, and that might be the reason why somebody has to refill it out. Is that it, or is there some other reason? And so once it starts, um, maybe being in those kind of numbers, it might be worthwhile taking a look at why somebody is not able to submit. What is the error that they're getting? And so I was looking at gravity forms, and you can establish logging to it. You can log multiple things. You can log the core functions. You can log add-ons. But apparently, like if somebody skips a field or puts the wrong information in or something, gravity forms will log it as some type of a validation error. So you could actually see what those errors are in the log. So there is a way to figure out what's going on if you want.
Right.
Now, practically, I'm thinking about the way I would do it. I would say, whatever the time frame is, a month, and you get the 50 submissions, I would probably extract my gravity form log that shows those validation errors and throw it into Chat GPT or something like that, and have it, filter through that and see if there's anything. Have it help you see if there's anything that's common.
Oh, like for instance, people don't want to leave their phone number, and that's why most of them are rejected.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 3 out of the 5, you had to force them to put their phone number in.
Or God forbid, the email validation script is not working correctly, and people are adding a valid email that just doesn't happen to work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I'm thinking this is something that I would like to do, of course, if I have time, because there could be something that's very fundamental about how we do our forms that leads people to not be able to fill them out, or they have the error.
Yeah.
And this is a good way. We talk about using Google Analytics for data. This is a good way to actually use data to say, look, client, you want to put this phone number in this form as required. Do you absolutely have to have it? Because I've got data from other sites that says 10% of the people have problems filling it out because of that. Do you
Or
really
better,
absolutely need it?
we added the phone number like you asked for. We noticed conversions went down, and here's the data showing the reason why is that people don't want to give a phone number.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Because sometimes we talk about conversion rates. What I like to do is like what I call poor man's conversion rate optimization, which is run something for a month and compare the data of that month and the previous month.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of all right. Well, what if we were to add the phone number? What would
Or what
happen?
if we take it away?
What if we take it away? What would happen? Oh, we got more. Oh, and there's still quality. Oh, all right, done. But to have data like that. I think they're probably because gravity forms in a lot of these form plugins will insert like a validation error on the page. Please enter phone number
Mhm.
or something like that. I think there's probably a way within Google Tag Manager to listen for that and then add an event in Google Analytics saying this was missing.
Oh, I'm sure there's a way to do it. The
Yeah.
question is, do we want to spend that time figuring it out? And if does Gravity Forms ever change the message, or do you want to change the message? That might make it a little bit more difficult because you actually have to look at the real message as well
Right, right. Well,
to
I'm
know
thinking
what's
if you
going
could
on.
put it into an event in Google Analytics, you could build an exploration funnel to show where
Mm-hmm.
people drop off.
Yeah.
in Google
Yeah.
Analytics.
Yeah. Now,
In
the
my
one thing to be careful of though is when you do this kind of logging, it it can fill up, your server a little bit, so the logs can get pretty big. So you just have to be
right.
careful how much you do it and to watch for it. You probably don't want to keep these kind of logs forever. And that would be the good advantage of doing it in Google Analytics, because then you could keep it for the long term.
Right.
And it would be kind of nice to do that because like we have a site where we've had a drop off in quote forms filled
Hmm.
out. So then I'm like, well, what's going on? The client says, well, sales are normally down, so it doesn't surprise us. But with us doing SEO on it, I'm like, okay, what's the real problem? And we don't know yet. But I did find out that, for example, the traffic to the page, the quote page is the same as it was in the past. So what's going on? There's something about people visiting it and not filling it in or what's going on. I don't know yet.
Well, yeah, that brings me back to just a basic Google Analytics exploration where you can do the funnel exploration because remember what we have with Google Analytics, we have certain enhanced events that happen when we turn on the advanced events feature. So we could have this first step in the funnel viewing the contact page.
Mhm.
The second step could be form start event, which is a default event in Google Analytics, meaning they started to fill out the form.
Yeah.
Then form submit, which means they tried to submit the form whether or not it's valid. And then confirmation of the valid submission, which in my recommendation is always a confirmation page or whatever. And you could watch people drop off. And then
Yeah.
you could have that as a exploration in Google Analytics to show clients, hey, this month, or let's say after we make a change on the form, here's what we've noticed, and just have that exploration together and reuse it as necessary to show the potential drop-offs along the way.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like for us building websites for people, assuming that's kind of what we do, we should it would be that and making sure you can explore everything regarding as much as possible the click to calls. So
That
anything,
that that was the thing I was going to add because sometimes
yeah.
on our confirmation page our phone number, and it might be that more people are calling rather than filling out the form, so you need to account for that.
Yeah, that's true. So it's almost like you obviously need to drill down, but then you almost need a higher level or holistic approach to say like the leads, whatever ways they come in, because it could be contact form, click to call, quote form, all those different kind of things, right?
Very, very interesting.